Hey guys, I'm back filming another video. After the engagement on the last video, I saw some of you commenting for a tutorial video. So I was like, sure, it will be a very beginner After Effects tutorial. It will just be getting you used to After Effects and the layout, the interface, everything. Because I know how scary it looks the first time you open it up. But trust me guys, it is not as scary and intimidating as it looks. Because I too wanted to go right back to CapCut where I came from. Because I don't know if you guys know a bit of lore behind me. I started on CapCut in 2020 and I had loads of editing accounts. I'd say my most viral is thxfooty, as you guys probably know already. And yeah, I was just editing on CapCut that whole time, and I only recently 6 months ago switched to After Effects. The user interface is a bit scary, but once you understand everything you're looking at, it is very simple once you break it down. So in this video I'll just explain the basics. Okay, I'm gonna start waffling. Let's get into the video. Okay, so as soon as you open up After Effects, this is what you're going to see, and all we're going to do is go over here, the blue button, and we're going to click new project. And now this looks a bit scary, I know, but the first thing we're going to do is just create our composition. So depending on what your video is going to be, I'm guessing TikTok edit, that's what I would do. So I'm going to click here, new composition. I'm just going to name it tutorial. You can name it whatever you want, and then all we have to focus on is width, height, frame rate, and maybe duration. The rest of it just ignore. So depending on what you want your aspect ratio to be, normally I would use a square, so that would be 1080 by 1080. And I'll put on screen right now some of the common aspect ratios. Another common one is, instead of a box, it would be stretched out. So your height would be 1440, so that is 3 to 4, and it's like a box but it's stretched up and down slightly. But I'm gonna stick to 1080 because most TikTok edits are now 1080. Okay, and now the frame rate. So your frame rate is here, your frames per second. That is basically how laggy your video shows, and obviously the lower your frame rate, if it's 1 frame per second, that is going to look really choppy, but 60 frames per second is going to look smoother. So the higher your frame rate, the better. But if you're posting on TikTok, the limit is 60 frames, so I wouldn't go above 60, and I would say only edit in 60 if your computer can handle it, because also the higher the frame rate, the higher your file size will be, so bear that in mind. But my computer's busted up, so I'm going to use 30. Resolution is just how you view your video whilst editing. If you have quarter resolution, it doesn't impact the final quality, so you can edit quicker without having to wait longer times for your preview render. So I'm going to put it to quarter because, as I said before, my computer cannot handle full resolution. Also, I don't recommend editing in full resolution because when you export your video and render it, it will be full resolution anyway. Okay, and here, however long your audio is, you should put the timing here. So say I have a 20-second audio, I'm gonna write 20 here. And now all we're going to do is press OK. And here is obviously the composition we've created. It's just a black square. But now we need our material. This looks a bit intimidating at first. Don't get scared. So the first thing to notice is this rectangle below here. This is basically your editing timeline. And in CapCut terms, you would scroll, I guess, with your thumb like this. But in After Effects, you take your cursor, place it on this blue time indicator, and you just drag it. So instead of a scroll like that, it's going to be a drag, and this is going to be easier to see once we start editing. So to actually import some footage is really easy. We're just going to right click here, click on import, and then click file. But that was a lot of clicks, right? And editors want to be as efficient as possible, so I have an even quicker method. We are going to pull up the file of what we want. I'm just going to use Neymar in this example, and I'm going to use 3 photos for now. Literally select them. I did that by holding control and clicking. You're going to hold it and drop it onto your project panel and then let go. And now it's in your project panel. We want it actually in our composition. Just drag one of them and let go. So now we have our 3 photos, but as you can see, the only one we can see is the top layer, right? If I hide that, now we can see the second one, and we can also actually see the third one because they're different sizes. So what we want to do is trim them slightly so they show up at different times during the edit. So to trim the photos, let's say each photo is going to be up for 3 seconds. I'm going to split, which is Control Shift D. Okay, and now I can delete the rest. Now click the second one, the same thing, Ctrl+Shift+D. And now we don't want to delete this, we want to delete this one, so click delete. Okay, and last, go to 6 seconds, Ctrl+Shift+D again, delete the future. And now same for this clip. And just to tidy things up, I'm going to delete here again. So now we have our 3 images, right? I'm scrolling through with my time indicator and they take up half of the timeline, right? But I want to see more of the frames in my view. So I'm going to drag this little time navigator. I'm going to drag it to the left, which basically just enlarges our current view of the timeline. And here at the bottom, you can actually slide to see at any point in your timeline. Okay, so now we have that. First thing is, Neymar is not in the middle, and obviously we want him to fill the screen, right? So we're going to click S, and that means scale. So all we're going to do is literally hold this and drag it as much as you want. Obviously we don't want that much. So we're going to fill him until he's covered all of our composition. And always, I would say always keep this on, because if the proportions are not the same, then you're going to have some type of stretch and it's not going to look good. So always keep that on. Okay, the next keyboard shortcut is P. So click here and press P. P stands for position, and this just shows your X and Y values of your current photo. So if I move this is the X value. If I move it left, Neymar's going to move left. If I move it right, Neymar's going to move right. So this just is helpful for when you want something in your picture to be central, and scale and position work well together. So say I want Neymar's face to be slightly higher up, I'm going to move the Y value to the left more, so you can see it's moving higher. But now there's a black bar at the bottom, so I'm going to press S and scale up slightly more. Okay, now we've gotten the scalings right for our photo, we can now pre-compose this. To do this, you just right click and click on pre-compose, and then click move all attributes into the new composition and click OK. So now if you double click here, this photo has its own composition. So this is basically helpful if you have multiple videos, photos that you want to have their own composition, so everything looks tidier in the main composition. So now here, this Neymar photo is just one bar. But if I double click it, I could have loads of bars below here and it would still look neat in the main composition. Pre-composing also makes sure your photo is the size of the composition. So here you can see we've scaled slightly bigger. So if you apply transitions like slides, it won't look as smooth. But now because of the pre-composition, Neymar moves as one and everything looks a lot neater. Okay, so I'm gonna do this for the rest of the clips and I'll see you back in 1 second. Okay, I've just finished pre-composing the clips and now we're gonna do our first transition. So all we're gonna do is a simple slide right transition. So first thing to do, when you want any effect, you go over here to the top right of the screen and you find effects and presets. If this doesn't show up, just click window and make sure this is ticked. And we're just going to search up motion tile. To apply an effect onto your clip, you just drag it and let go onto your photo. So here, the center 540, that's perfect. So now we're going to get the effect that helps us with the sliding transition, and that is S Blur Mode Curves. So this is actually a Sapphire plugin, so just make sure you get your plugins. And yeah, we're just going to drop it onto our photo. So here, oh yeah, I didn't mention this, but here on the left is where you can adjust all your effects and adjust the quantities, everything here. And you might be wondering, isn't that where we import our footage? And you're right, it is still there, but you're going to just click this double arrow. Instead of effect controls, you're going to click project. And here you can see we still have all of our imported footage and we can import more if we wanted to. But we're going to go back to adjusting our effect. So we're going to click this. And now I'm going to teach you about keyframes. So obviously we don't want the start of the video to have Neymar already on the left. We want it to be gradual. So that is why we use keyframes. So most of the clip, we want Neymar to be in the position he is right now. Only when we reach towards the end is he going to start sliding and then the new namer can then slide in. So here we're going to apply a keyframe, and the sliding left is an attribute of the x-axis, right? So we're just going to find Shift X here. You're just going to click this little time indicator, and that just means you've applied a keyframe there. So if you press U on your keyboard, it shows you your keyframe. So here we have a keyframe at this position in time. So now this keyframe just means that Neymar is in the central position, and so we want him slowly to move towards the left. So drag your time indicator to the last frame, which you'll notice is the frame just before the clip ends. I'll zoom in so you can see that clearer. Here, you'd think the last frame is right here, but actually that is where the new clip starts. So you're going to apply your final keyframe of this clip on the frame before the end. So now you can shift Neymar to the left however much you like. I'm going to go around here, minus 240. So now if we watch that, it looks like this. Okay, that does not look pretty, right? And it's because we've exposed this black bar here. So what we want to do is go over to our effect controls, and you're going to go to Wrap X, click on it and click Reflect. So now you can see we've reflected our photo. So it's less obvious that the clip has ended. Just for good practice, reflect the Y as well. So now it looks like this. And that still doesn't look good because we don't want the movement to be linear. We want it to slowly start moving, then just before the last keyframe, speed up as quick as possible. So to do that, get your mouse and just select both the keyframes, and then just right click on Keyframe Assistant, and then click Easy Ease. And you can click F9 for a shortcut. So now we can go on what's called the graph editor, which is this curvy line in a box over here. So now, what we talked about before was wanting a really slow movement and then speeds up really fast. So what that'll look like is this dragged all the way to the right. I'll stop here. And then this yellow one drag also so it's facing upwards. And now this is what it looks like. So you can see it goes slowly at the start and then suddenly speeds up towards the end. And you can tell by the shape of this curve as well, because this is the original position and this is our final position. And for most of the time, it's closer to the original position, which is why it slowly moves. And then here we start to move towards our final position, right? And it's a steeper line, so it's a quicker movement. Okay, now to exit graph editor, just click here again. And so this looks good and all, but it's no good to have a slide transition when your next clip is stationary. So we're literally going to do the same exact thing, but in reverse for this next clip. So go to the first frame, and also we're going to apply blur mode curves to this photo as well. Click Shift X here, and you're going to shift it in the opposite direction to what you did before. So before we went left, this time we're going to go right. I'll say around 230, and obviously we're going to wrap the X and the Y for good practice. And now click U to see your keyframes. We're just going to move some frames forward, go back to the original position, which is 0. So click here, enter 0. So now this just looks like, again, the linear movement, but we don't want that. So we're going to do the same thing. Select the keyframes, right click, Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease, and here go on Graph Editor. If we want it really fast in the beginning, it's no good making the curve look like that, because that is going to be really slow. We're going to actually drag this downwards instead. And then if you move over here, drag this yellow one to the left more. So now we can watch this back. That's a lot smoother, right? And here you can see it's really quick and then it starts to slow down. So let's watch the whole transition back. I'm going to put it in half resolution for now. Looks pretty smooth, right? That is our first transition done. So that is the basic slide transition. I say give yourself a pat on the back. You've learned keyframes, you've learned effects, presets, and now we're going to move on to some harder things to do with videos instead of photos, because obviously TikTok edits are mostly videos, right? So let's go on to some videos. For the videos, I've made a new composition. I've just named it tutorial 2, kept my aspect ratio and my frame rate. I'm going to keep it 20 seconds as well. So let's click OK. Now I'm going to insert my video. So these are 2 full episodes of Victorious. First one is Freak the Freak Out Part 1. The second one is episode 15, Rex Dies. 2 iconic episodes with iconic clips in them. Drag it onto here. And you can see that videos are actually blue instead of purple. So now you can see we actually have a 20-minute long episode in our 20-second composition. So we're going to choose the clips we actually want to be in our edit. So to do that, you're just going to double click. And now you can see here, there's a separate timeline, the whole episode, right? This is 23 minutes long. And so now you can see what clips you want. I'm gonna use this clip. So I'm gonna click this button on the left, which just basically deletes everything before this frame and makes the first frame start at this point. So here, now you can see the first frame is here. So I'm actually gonna adjust it a bit more and make it here. So now I'm going to trim the clip by doing Ctrl-Shift-D. We want to find more clips within this episode, right? So we're going to double click again and repeat the same process. And when you want another clip that's really close to what you just clipped, I would use this time indicator instead of this one because it's more accurate. Okay, you can see I'm running out of space to use the time indicator to find my clip. So I'm just going to trim it again and now I have more space. So I think that's enough clips. I'm going to delete. If I want to see the clips that I've just trimmed, click over here, which is our original composition. So now I can see the things I've trimmed. So you don't want anything to overlay one another. Otherwise, the clip underneath is hidden. But that is useful when you're doing ghost overlays, stuff like that. But for now, simple velocity edit, just make sure your clips don't overlay. So the first step to any edit is position your clip. So we want Cat to be in the middle of our clip. So we're going to click P, position, and we're just going to move her over to the right. And now we're going to do this for all of them. Okay, they're all positioned in the middle, but to make this all look nicer, we're going to zoom in slightly. So instead of clicking scale for each individual clip like this, just make sure you don't have any clips selected and click S. And now you can see they've all turned to scale. And if sometimes you've gotten a bit overwhelmed by how many things are open, just click U and all of the drop downs will disappear. We actually want them back, so I'm going to click S again. So we're just going to zoom in slightly. And now that I've zoomed in, Cat slightly become off-centered again. Obviously you can click P and do all of that again, but I'm just going to drag it with my mouse. Zoom in, position. Just to make things look tidy, I'm going to drag this up here. So we have our clips, and obviously if you are editing, please add in your audio. This is just for demonstration. I would say when you first start out, find an inspiration edit that you like with the audio you want to use, and then trim your clip when their clip ends. And that just ensures you're on beat as long as they're on beat as well. And obviously tag them when you finish the edit, but that just helps you when you're starting out, and then once you're used to that, you can start marking your own beats. Now what we want to do is enable frame blending for all of our clips. We're either going to click our mouse and drag down and do this one more time, or we can select all our clips by clicking one and then holding shift and clicking the bottom, and then you can just click once and it will do it for everything. That is useful if you have a lot of clips, but I think dragging it down is more fun.
We don't care.
So that just applies frame blending and motion blur to all your clips, and make sure these are toggled blue just to make sure that whatever you did here actually has an effect. So now the next stage of the edit is to add your Twixtor. So I'm going to go over here and add Twixtor. I'm going to zoom in slightly so you can see a lot better. So for my Twixtor, I add a keyframe at the start that is original speed. I move to the middle, I add a keyframe that is 50% of the speed, and then I add final keyframe back to original. We're going to click U, which shows us our keyframes, and we're going to select all of these, right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Then we're going to go on graph editor, and all you're going to do is click on one of these, it doesn't matter which, drag this yellow line all the way to the left and drag this yellow line all the way to the left. And then for these two, you're going to drag it all the way to the right and all the way to the right. And that just makes sure the majority of the clip is slowed down for the longest amount of time possible. If we play this back, this is what it looks like. So yeah, it's just slowed down. And we could do the exact same thing for this next clip, but we're going to save time and just copy paste by clicking here, or you can highlight all of this. I usually click here. Click Ctrl C Move over to your first frame of the second clip. Make sure the second clip is highlighted, and then you're just going to Control V. And now click U again, and you can see the keyframes over here. But there's a problem, of course, because the clips are different lengths. So that just means it's going to slow down for only a third of the video, and then it's going to be normal speed for the rest. So what we're going to do is go to our final keyframe of this clip. Make sure you hover over the last keyframe, and then we're going to hold Alt on the keyboard, and then drag this last keyframe so it's on our time indicator, and then let go. And that's just basically stretched our Twixtor but kept the proportions. And as you can see in the graph editor, it's kept our graph that we wanted. So you're just going to copy paste for every single clip. Oh, one thing I forgot.
Oh Lord, again.
I literally told you guys to pre-compose, and I forgot to pre-compose myself. Okay, I'm going to delete these Twixtors, pre-compose, and then I'll be back. Okay, I've added my Twixtors on my actually pre-composed clips. This is what it should look like. This is why we don't edit in half, but I realized this is a YouTube video and you guys have to see in good quality. Let's just wait for it to render. This is why I edit in quarter resolution. If this was in quarter, it would have rendered in 1 second.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
But my computer does not like me, so we're just gonna wait. Okay, almost done. I'm just gonna save this before there's any crashes. After Effects literally just crashed 10 seconds after I said that.
What did I do?
Just go to the office!
What did I do?
And guys, I'm gonna go back to quarter resolution because I can't deal with half. You guys just gotta bear with the quality. You get used to it after a while. I'm literally so used to seeing Cat in like 140p. Why is quarter taking so long as well? I think it's just my computer. No guys, I actually can't deal with After Effects. It just doesn't want to respond. Okay guys, hopefully After Effects starts to behave now. I've given it some good word. So after you've applied your Twixtor, the next step is to do your zooms. And so we're going to go back to blur mode curves. So add this onto your clip. So what we're going to do is add a keyframe for Z distance. And that Z distance is basically your zoom in. So now we're going to go to the last keyframe and zoom in however much you want. I usually go with 0.9. And you can see it's zooming in, but Cat's head is slowly going up and up. So we're going to center, click here, and center it to her face. So now it's zooming in on her face. And this is again a linear movement, and we don't want that linear movement. So click U again, and we're going to highlight our blur mode curve keyframes, and then right click, keyframe assistant. You guys know this by now, easy ease. And click on graph editor. So what we want right at the start of the edit, you want it to be quick. So remember the quick graph looked like this. So that just shows a quick zoom in. So now we have another clip. We're going to do something slightly different. Instead of a quick zoom in, quick zoom out, we're going to do a quick zoom in and then a slow zoom out into a quick zoom out.
Huh?
That might sound a bit confusing. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just going to copy and paste this blur mode curves. We want it to zoom out instead of zoom in. So I'm just going to change this attribute to 0.9 and then change this to 1. And obviously we want it to drag over here. And I'm actually, for this one, going to zoom out slightly bigger than the photo is. So 1.05. Now you can see there's a black bar. And remember last time, we reflected the X and also the Y, which is why I told you to do both for good practice. We're just gonna change the graph editor, and it looks slightly odd because we've copy and pasted it from before. So we want it to be really slow to begin with and then be quick. So this is what it should look like, because if you remember, this is the original, this is the final, and we want it to stay as close to the original for the longest amount of time. So now we have a slow zoom out and then quick right at the end. And so now into our next transition, we're just gonna copy and paste this again. If we had 2 slow zoom outs, it would look slightly odd. So what we're going to do is make this zoom out a really quick zoom out. So I'm just going to change this back to 1. And now we can go to our graph editor. And we want it to be quick, right? So we want it to be as close to the final for the longest amount of time. So that would look like this. And so now if we preview this, it's like a slow zoom out. Okay, let's put that on half for you guys, just so your eyes aren't straining. Oh, why did I do that? Never mind, I'm going back to quarter. Okay, so it's like a slow zoom out, then quick. So if you watch the whole thing back, it's this. So that is how I use blow-mo curves for zooms. And guys, please use the copy and paste function, because it'll literally save you so much time. Because I don't know about you guys, but CapCut was slightly repetitive and just exhausting when you had to do the same graph, do the same keyframe, and yeah, After Effects is a lot more efficient. So that is essentially the basics of After Effects. Let me know if you guys want a detailed version, because I know there's a lot that I didn't talk about, such as blurs, adjustment layers, different types of transitions, all of that. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys want a detailed tutorial. I might film an edit with me video that you guys can follow along with and see what I actually do in my edits. But for now, I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've learned something today. I would be glad if you guys did, and comment down below if you have any questions for me. I'll try to respond as quick as possible. See you guys in the next video.